What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Joannis or Joe Hatagwa. I'm a Sierra Leonean American living here in Accra, Ghana. And if you want to know what it's been like for me over the last 10 months and get an update about how I feel about living in Ghana, then this is the video for you. All right. We are live on YouTube. Instagram is down today. Crazy. All of Facebook products are down today. So we are only live on YouTube right now. So that is where we're going to stay live. So we're going to give another moment to allow people to join and to ask some questions. I can give some updates. So while we wait for people to join, we got a few people coming on. So we want to give some time for more people to get on. As you guys know, today's been a really weird day with all of Facebook being down. So like all communications are down. So I couldn't alert everybody on Facebook or on Instagram that I'm going live today. So we're gonna have to rely on all of you to let everybody know on YouTube that we are live. I'm not going live on Instagram today because we can't go live on Instagram. There's some issues with Instagram right now. So we're only going to be live on YouTube at the moment. And so just this one particular YouTube channel, which means that there won't be as many challenges with technical difficulties. But it is just me today, no guests. I wanted to do a 10-month update. I can't believe it's been 10 months since I've been living in West Africa. Technically it's been longer than that, but 10 months since I made the move to Ghana in particular, but I did spend about 6 weeks in Sierra Leone during that time. But I wanted to give you guys all the kind of the good, the bad, the ugly, where we are, how I feel, having been here now 10 months. I can't believe it, but literally we're like 2 months away from me having been here 12 months. It'll be a year and a little over 2 months. So happy to give you guys the update, let you know how it's been, and let you ask me questions. I know we already got a question in here now from iTuber. I think your real name is Roland, right? Who we've been communicating back and forth via email about Sierra Leone. So we'll definitely get to your question in a second. But in the meantime, I want to do some quick housekeeping. So as I do every week, just a real quick. Well, actually, first of all, I didn't even do this, but let me know if you guys can hear me, if I'm coming through clearly. My connection's been a little bit spotty today. So can I get a thumbs up in the comments so you guys can let me know if you guys can hear me clearly? Let me know if you can hear me clearly so I know that you can, and then we'll get into the content. But yeah, in the meantime, while I wait to hear from you guys, if you guys can hear me, I'm just gonna get ready to put this presentation up on the screen so you can see what we got going on. It's been a wild ride, and I'm looking forward to telling you about it. I think you guys might find my experience interesting. So far, it's been good, but of course, there are some things that are definitely you know some learning lessons, some experiences that I would say I was not expecting, and so we'll talk about all of those things today, and then we'll let you ask any questions as usual, um, as we always do. So with that, let me get right into showing this presentation. Um, okay, you guys can hear me, so cool. So shout out to Mo for showing up. Thanks, Mo. And this is a new one. Is it Najee or Najee? Can you tell us how to pronounce your name? Is there any? Can you help me with the phonetics of how you pronounce your name? I want to say Najee. Let me know if that's how you pronounce it. But I think it's your first time commenting too. So shout out to you for joining. Thank you. All right, cool. So let's get right into it. So housekeeping. Those of you who are new, I'll just kind of do a reintroduction. Some of you who aren't familiar with me and who might be joining for the first time. My name is. Oh, it's NJ. Got it. NJ. Thanks, NJ Smith. I appreciate it. I hate when people get my name wrong, so I want to make sure that I pronounce everybody's name right phonetically. So, just real quick, just a real quick introduction to me. My name is Joannis, also known by Joe. I am a Sierra Leonean American, so I do have dual citizenship in Sierra Leone and in the United States. I was born and raised in the U.S., but over the last, I don't know, 7 years or so, I've been going to Sierra Leone more frequently, and I moved to Ghana in December of last year. So I have a little bit of context as like an African American living in West Africa, but also someone who has cultural heritage in Sierra Leone, being in Ghana. So a little bit of context of both. So that is me. For those of you who are not familiar with me, and if this is your first time on the live, so let's get into the presentation really quickly. I want to show my screen. OD99 says, "What's up to everyone?" Shout out to you. Thanks for stopping by. Um, cool. So let's share this screen. All right. And since a lot of you are new, I thought, why don't we get right into the presentation? So as of right now, the video schedule is as follows: Monday, Fridays, and Sundays. That's how I've been doing it over this last week. As you guys might have known, we didn't do a video this past Sunday, and the Friday video went up on Saturday. It has been a massively hectic week, so we'll definitely talk about how hectic my life has been here and how busy it's been, which has led to some delays in some videos either being edited or posted. So we'll talk about that. But the general gist of it is on Mondays, we do the live, something like this, where I pick a topic, we talk about it, allow you to ask questions. Sometimes I'll have a guest. Last week, I had Nigera, or from Nye's Corner. She has her own YouTube channel. She is a Black American from California, a little bit north of Los Angeles. She moved to Ghana 4 years ago, so she talked a little bit about her experience dating here. I actually interviewed her on Sunday too, so I'm looking forward to sharing her story with you guys sometime soon. The week before her, I had the couple from Destination Africa on to talk about raising kids in Ghana. So if you haven't checked that out, or you have kids and you're thinking about moving and you have some questions about that and what it's been like, definitely check them out. And then the week before that was the dual citizenship episode, which seems to be a big hit on Instagram and on YouTube. That one really tells you how to get dual citizenship in Ghana, and what the process looks like and where we are today. So Monday, that's what the lives are every Monday. On Friday, I do my weekly update. This day may change, but as of right now, it's Fridays. And so I'll do a weekly update on what this last week has been like for me. So it's always going to be a weekly update with the week number, and then what that update looks like. So I do, from time to time, I talk about the house that I'm building in Sierra Leone and some updates there. I got plenty of updates for you guys there. Restaurants that I visited and seen this last week, interviews that I've done, people that I've met, all of that kind of stuff. Just what's been going on with me that week, so you can kind of see what a week in the life of someone living here might be like, someone specifically like me who is out trying to meet people and network and build. And then Sunday is the vlog that's a little bit deeper dive into a particular topic. So this last Sunday was supposed to be the chimpanzee sanctuary that I went to in Sierra Leone. That is going to be coming out this week, and then next weekend we'll be doing or the next vlog like this, because I don't know if it'll be next weekend, but that will be the Sierra Leone Icons exhibit at the Sierra Leone National Museum. So you get a little bit more about Sierra Leone history, much like what I've done with Ghanaian history, going to different historical sites. I did the same thing in Sierra Leone, and I want to share some of that information with you all, especially those who are of Sierra Leone heritage and don't really get a chance to hear much about our history, and the people who were involved in shaping the country to what it is today and helping advance us. So there will be a video about the Sierra Leone icons coming up soon. So those are the next couple of ones. And then I also have one that I'm doing. So I'm doing Sierra Leone icons. I'm doing the chimpanzee sanctuary that's coming out. And then I have, so I did a couple of tours of some of the 5-star hotels, or I would say luxury hotels. I won't say 5-star, but the luxury hotels in Sierra Leone. So a couple of videos on that. All right, cool. So that's the content coming and what the weekly schedule looks like. Again, to stay up to date, Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share it with people that you know. Turn on notifications when you subscribe so you know every time a new video is coming out. The website. Again, this is the website that we have. It's authenticafrican.com. It's all these kinds of products made in Africa, sold in the United States right now. We're working to expand outside of the US to Canada and other places around the continent of Africa. But right now, they're sold in the US. We just added, which I didn't even get a chance to add here, products made by diasporans. And so, like healthier snack options and food options, like Pipcorn, which is like a healthier version of popcorn. And we have a number of other different things that I will share with you guys coming up. But some really cool additions to the Authentic African site. We're continuing to grow to offer more things. And so, for you, if you want to have a piece of home wherever you are, then this is the site for you. So, definitely check it out. All right, cool. So, today we are on to what it's been like for me living here in Ghana, and what you could potentially expect if you are planning to move. So, real quick, there's a couple people in that have some things to say. So let's give them a chance to talk. So, ever considered getting Ghanaian citizenship? Says Trinity. I have. And so I'm pretty sure as an American citizen, you can technically have up to 3 citizenships, is at least from my preliminary research, that they would recognize. And I think Sierra Leone is also fine with that as well. So I do have the option of adding a third country. Ghana is on the list of countries. I've definitely thought about it. So it's definitely something that I would potentially do. Now, to be able to get your Ghanaian citizenship, though, it's not easy, right? It's right now the way it's structured is between 5 and 10 years. There also is an element of it where you're not allowed to leave the country for a portion of time. In the same way, like if you're getting citizenship in the United States, they have a similar process. And so you just have to be prepared for that and then also be down for the long haul. I can't even get Ghanaian citizenship right now because I've only been here 1 year, right? So it's going to take some time. Now, we talked about this a couple weeks back with Ivy Prosper, which she really laid it out. But basically, there is a new bill that's been placed on. I want to say this in terms of American terms, so forgive me if I'm using the terminology incorrectly, but the parliament has to vote on this bill, put it that way, and for them to vote on the bill to move it forward and then also come up with the elements of the bill to expedite the process of getting citizenship. But as of right now, it's between 5 and 10 years. So it does take a long time. So I've thought about it, but it's a long time before it can happen. Okay. NJ says, you do great content, bro. You and Kels, thank you very much. Yeah, so Kels is a friend of mine from high school. I think we might have met actually when he was in middle school and I was in high school, maybe when I was a freshman in high school and he was in 8th grade. But we've been really close friends for a long time. He convinced me to start the YouTube channel because I had been sharing my stories on Instagram, where I would come to Sierra Leone and when I came to Ghana for the year of return. And then, he convinced me to start a YouTube channel, and here we are. A little over 6.5 months later, I got this YouTube channel up and running. So shout out to Kels. I did a bunch of content with him in the very beginning. So if you guys want to see like what my first couple videos look like about 7 months ago, it's not even that long ago, check out the channel. Kels and I did some really great content. All right, Helen Brown says hi. What's up, Helen? Oh yes, the custom fit. So is it Mikea? You mentioned this on the last live. What we did with Nice Corner, that you we were going to get that custom fit from you and your husband's business. Yes. Did you? If you emailed me, let me get back to you on the email. I haven't gotten a chance to get through all my emails. The last 2 weeks, I got a ton of emails, and that's the same email, of course, that I use for the Authentic African e-commerce site. So anytime we get sales or customers have questions, it's a lot there. So that email address gets checked once a week by me. I do have a virtual assistant who checks it for e-commerce related stuff. I check it for non-e-commerce stuff, and so it gets a little bit packed. But yeah, okay, what do we got? Didn't Ghana offer citizenship to Black diasporans during the year of return? So yeah, that is. So I am Tammy ETV. They did. And so it was to a select group of people. I think it was like 225 people. It was offered to them, and but it was a select group. And what it was is the president signed an executive order basically bypassing the normal length of time it takes to get citizenship. But you had to have signed up for it beforehand, and there were other stipulations. I was not even aware of it, and I didn't do it. So I don't even know what the requirements were, but they did offer it to a number of people. I think out of the 225 that were up for it, 120 or so actually got it for a number of different reasons. But yeah, so it was offered, but it was through executive order by the president. And it's not, that doesn't happen often, right? It was just that one time that he did those executive orders, unless it's someone, let's say like someone of celebrity status, right, that wants to get their Ghanaian citizenship because they have Ghanaian heritage. They probably can, go through executive order. With the president here, I'm sure if there's somebody internationally and it makes sense for Ghana tourism, I can imagine he would do that through executive order for them. But in general, it was that kind of a one-time thing from what I understand. All right. Love your videos, by the way. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. So let's get into it. Where am I 10 months in and how do I feel? Man, this is an interesting one. So overall, still love it here, right? I mean, I think I said this before and I'll say it again. This was probably the best decision I've ever made. But I will say the longer I'm here, the more the honeymoon period of just being here and just getting here, all of that starts to fade away, and it's the reality of living in a whole new continent, in a whole different place, right? So there are certain things, right, that you probably don't necessarily think about, even if you've done all the research you can before you move to a new city. So last year was a strange year during the pandemic, right? Or the early stages of the pandemic, because everything you normally did was probably greatly reduced. But being here in Ghana, I move around like I did pre-pandemic in the United States. And so I kind of want to live like I did pre-pandemic in the United States. And I didn't realize how much I ordered things online. I was not very big on going into the grocery store, supermarket, whatever, to buy things. And so I just never really liked the idea of big crowds. And it just wasn't my thing to want to have to like deal with like lots of people, right? And so I really didn't realize how much that like I kind of had this online shopping addiction. And it's not like clothes or anything. It's really more like, for instance, hair stuff, right? For my hair. It was just easy to just order it, get it the next day or in 2 days, and have it there. Razors, even. I didn't even go to the store to buy razors. I'd buy that online. Anything I wanted, I could buy. And now that's something that I definitely miss. So that's something I've had to adjust to for sure. Kind of managing my expectations around that. Working in Ghana is another thing that's been interesting. So I work for a company, as you all know, Jumia, which is an international company, but they have a local entity. And so I'm paid on the Ghanaian pay scale. So I get paid, on local dollars or local Ghana cedis, based on the pay scale here. And so that's also taking some getting used to and adjusting. And then also beyond that too, the other thing that I've mentioned before too is I love how relaxed and the tropical environment makes everyone relaxed. But it does sometimes show up in a business environment. Today was a very stressful day for me because we had two major executions for advertisers who were advertising, and I will tell you that both had major issues because there were things that weren't thought of beforehand. There was information not given to me before, so I couldn't manage expectations, and so we didn't launch without any issues. There were some issues with the launch. So those are some of the things that just I'm learning about on a day-to-day basis, right? Just how to manage my own expectations, manage other people's expectations based on kind of the lax nature of how things go. And so even in a high pressure environment where things need to move quickly, it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone involved will move quickly. That doesn't mean that everyone in Ghana is that way. I'm just saying, like, in some instances that can happen. And when you have, when you're relying on someone else for some particular thing that is their area or their domain, where they have domain expertise, and you cannot do it without them, sometimes that might hold you up if they move at a different speed. And so that's been another experience of mine working here. Um, but then the other thing I would say is the weather's been great. Like it's hot and warm, but I prefer that to any other weather. Apparently the rainy season has been a little bit put off, or it hasn't been that as bad as it normally is, but it's been really great weather. It barely rains, and it's really kind of summer year round. So I love the weather here. So that's been great. So that like that I think was the hugest thing. We talked about dating last week. I think dating has been interesting. You know, just learning how to date here, and also in yeah, just dating here has been interesting for sure. Whether that's dating locals or dating diasporans, so that's been an interesting experience. But we talked about it on the last live, so you guys come back to last week's live to check that out. I'm not going to belabor those points here. Um, but yeah, so those are a couple of topics I think in areas in which I wanted to cover. Living situation I think is another interesting thing. So you know we've talked about this on many occasions, but I moved into a place that was priced really great, right? The price wasn't too expensive. It was, you know, in line with what I would hope to have spent here. And, you know, I have a 3 bedroom, 3.5 bathroom apartment for really good pricing. But of course, for that pricing, you're going to have things or elements that are missing. So we didn't have hot water in the apartment. So it took me, I think, about 4 months to get hot water, just through the whole process of working with the plumber and working with the building and negotiating who was going to pay for what and all of that, getting the hot water. That's been a bit of a challenge. Um, there are other things about the apartment that just don't work. Like for instance, the fan in the bedroom here only works on the highest level. Any of the if you do the incremental changes, it doesn't do like like it's like 1 through 6 are like the numbers on the dial, and it only works on 6, right? So like just little things like that where you would expect it to get fixed, but it just takes a long time to get fixed. Nothing too serious, not a big deal, but you know, just one of those things where if you're looking to get that done, sometimes you have to take matters into your own hands, right? Find your own service providers, which I actually did get a good list of contacts, so I'll definitely be doing that. Let me get into some of your questions, because some questions are starting to come in now, and then I'll go back to some of the other things that I would say have been my experience so far, and what I how I feel and all of that. So NJ says, bro, what are the top 5 business ideas for expats to venture into for quick turnover? I wasn't sure you did a video on that before. I'm a Liberian American. Well, shout out to you. We're neighbors. Liberian. I'm a Sierra Leonean American. And technically, I do have lineage in Liberia. I think my mother's mother is Liberian. Or if it's my mother's father, I'm not really sure. But we do have some Liberian blood. So shout out to my fellow Liberians. Yeah, we've touched on this a bit. You ask different people and they'll have different answers. The top 5 business ideas. You know, I would say the best thing to do is come here and see where there are gaps. Businesses that I would like to see more of is businesses that help people import and export easily. That's for sure. Um, Especially for expats. You know, I would say like there's an expat community here that tends to communicate with each other pretty well, and they let people know. They're like different WhatsApp groups where people talk. And so like if you want to be able to kind of generate business right away and have a bunch of people who are going to patronize your business, then definitely you can target the expat community here and offer things that they're used to having. So if they're used to ordering things from online, making it easier for them to receive those packages. Um, I would say fashion seems to be big here. Whether you are local or you're diasporan, people love fashion, especially ethnic fashion. Um, Food stands are big. You know, Niger from Nice Corner, she's starting a food stand. So like that's also big. I think food is just you know this culturally Ghanaians love food. It's something that we all West Africans we love food. So that's another business. But I would say sorry, there was a really loud noise. I don't know if you guys heard that. So yeah, so I think those are a couple of businesses too. You know, I'm a couple of people have talked about investing in this fisherman's business. There's a fishing business that we are looking at investing in right now. Yeah, so I mean, tech startups are also big too. Health tech startups, agriculture tech startups, education tech startups. I mean, those are all things that I think can be really good businesses. And and another big business actually that's really interesting is consulting, right? So for people who want to move here, I've now talked to 3 or 4 different people who all have a business of showing people how to move from the diaspora to Ghana. So that's a big business right there. I mean, people are willing to pay a premium, especially if you can show them exactly what steps they need to take, what they need to pack, how they can ship their stuff here, what airlines that they can fly on, what areas of town they can live in. So those kinds of things. So I think those are a couple different types of businesses that people tend to talk about. But yeah, there are other businesses too. If I think of more, I'll shout them out. But yeah, those are some of the things I can think of off the top of my head. Um, I am Tammy TV says, do you feel the need to learn Tuyaga? Or do you feel like it's necessary? So it's not really necessary. I mean, ideally, if you're in somebody else's country, you should try to learn the local language just because it just shows that you're trying and you're in their country. It's kind of like when you hear Americans yell at other people from other countries and say, you're in America, why don't you speak our language? People who have a lot of sense of pride for their countries do feel like if you're in the country, you should learn their language. I don't feel the pressure. I don't feel the need, but I am trying little by little, just like certain phrases, like just saying welcome and thank you, things like that. Just like the basics, because I just think it's important. If I'm in France, I try to do the basic French sayings. If I go to Spain, same thing. If I was to go to Asia, same thing. So why not here in Ghana? But yeah, it's not necessary though because everybody speaks English. But I would recommend at least tree, because tree. I always mess it up. Tree is basically the most common language spoken besides English. So if you do come here, I would say maybe try to learn a little bit of tree, and so you can be able to communicate at least a little bit. And it's always helpful to ingratiate yourself with the culture when you speak the language. Global Green Book says, one love, authentic African. Glad to catch you live. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. Kwesi says, do you think you made a good decision by migrating to Ghana? Yeah, good question. I do think I made a good decision by migrating to Ghana. I think like I said, I think it's the best decision I've ever made. But it is a decision that like as time goes on, I'm learning that the only thing I would do differently is I would have spent a little bit more time earlier last year focusing on what life would be like once I got here, right? You can move here and just kind of figure it out as you go along, because the cost of living, you can keep it low depending on how you decide you want to live, and if you know other people that can help you do that. But yeah, I mean, it's the best decision I've ever made. I just miss all my friends back in the US. We got together a lot, but that's probably one of the biggest things. But yeah, absolutely. Best decision I made. It's a good decision for sure. Helen Brown says, I am from Sierra Leone. Shout out to my Salon sister. At the moment, I live in the UK. I'm looking to move to Ghana, hopefully in 2 years' time. I used to live and attended high school in Ghana. Okay, nice. Yeah. Well, whenever you attended high school, whether that was 5 or 10 years ago, it's different now. I mean, it's changing yearly. So it'll be a different place when you come back to it, but definitely make the move. Especially since you've lived here before. I'm sure that means that you have a network here. And there's some Sierra Leoneans here too, like myself. So yeah, definitely make that move. I would encourage it for sure. Royalty says, I'm late but made it. Shout out to you. Better late than never. That's what I say. Okay, cool. So just ran through some of the questions. You guys can post some more questions in the chat if you have more. Some other areas of my life where I've had to adjust is also public transportation. So when I moved back to New York, it was during the pandemic, so there was a lot of bike riding. Right, I wasn't going anywhere that I couldn't ride a bike because I didn't want to be enclosed in a metal capsule with the potential of catching this in international pandemic. We didn't know what the situation was. I moved to New York right as it hit the US. And so I didn't ride public transportation much in New York last year, but prior to that, I had always ridden public transportation. In LA, I even rode public transportation from time to time, but I Ubered a lot. Here, I do not ride public transportation, so I Uber and Bolt everywhere. And so that has been a little bit of an adjustment as well, because I just need to make sure that I budget for that. And the traffic, the traffic is a thing here, for sure. One pro tip is pay a little extra and get um, Bolt Comfort or Uber. I can't remember what the version for Uber is, where it's the highest version. It's just like 2 or 3 CDs more per trip, but that way they can have the AC on. Because when you're sitting in traffic and not driving with air and the breeze, and that sun is beaming on you, it is hot. So I would definitely recommend, if you're going to be riding in an Uber or Bolt, do that. And also, I would also recommend getting a MiFi or making sure your phone has good Wi-Fi, so that way you can make it productive while you're in the car. I work in the car on the way to work and on the way home from work, because I spend about 45 minutes in the back of that Uber or Bolt. Either way, sometimes even longer, depending on what time of day I leave. And so I make it the most productive time that I can. I used to do this on my way to the office when I was living in Los Angeles too. It was about an hour and 10-minute trip door to door. And so while I was on that train, I was doing work, or if I was in an Uber on the way to work in LA. So same thing here. I would say definitely do that. But yeah, public transportation is not something I do very often. But when I'm in an Uber or Bolt, that's the thing that I got to get used to, is sitting in that traffic. And it is serious traffic, right? I mean, there's other cities that have worse traffic. I hear Lagos is pretty bad. Obviously, Los Angeles, the city that I came from, a couple years, like a year and a half ago, was pretty bad. Almost 2 years now. So yeah, but it is a thing for sure. All right. So David asked that I'm comfortable with dishes. Was to ask that are really comfortable with the dishes. Oh, so like the food. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the food here, I mean, so we have a lot of similar foods in Sierra Leone. And my mother being Sierra Leonean, although I didn't grow up in the household with my mom, I went to boarding school, so I was back and forth. But when I went home, and of course, even later in life, she would like ship meals out to us. Um, we would eat some of the same foods. Granite soup, you guys eat. It's pretty similar actually, except we use rice. You guys use motuo, as far as I understand, or Ghanaians do. There's also a couple other stews. There's fufu. I don't really eat fufu, but we do similar fufus. There's pepper stew or pepper soup. I think we both do that too. Uh, the jollof rice is different for sure, but I like the jollof rice here. I'm not going to get into the jollof wars here on this live. We've done it over and over again on many videos, and I'm just not going to do it here. But yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with the food here. I mean, I eat mostly local actually. I don't really eat like the continental dishes. Sometimes when I go out, I do, but for the most part, I eat local food here. So yeah, I am comfortable with the dishes. All right, cool. So what else can I tell you about? Getting a haircut. So I got to get used to going back to the barber again, which, as you can see, I haven't done in probably about, I don't know, a month. So in LA, I actually had a friend of mine who actually cut hair. And so she would come to my house and cut my hair in my apartment. And so that was so easy. And then prior to that, when I lived in New York, I would get a lineup from my roommate that I had living in New York, because he had his own set of like shape up clippers. And so getting used to going back to the barber is interesting. But the pricing is good. It's much cheaper than what you would expect in the US. Let me actually tell you what that amount is. So let's see. So it's was it 45 Ghana cedis divided by 6? So yeah, about $7.50 for a haircut, right? Which is like next to nothing compared to what the prices are in the US, right? So yeah, so things like that I'm just getting used to again, and just getting used to period here. And then also like knowing how you want your hair cut, and just knowing that sometimes people do haircuts differently here, just because there are different hairstyles that are more popular here. So just making sure that you get the right barber to do it the way you want. Um, okay. So okay, so David says, It sounds kind of weird when you compare the jollof rice. Yeah, I mean, it's a thing though, right? Like it's a thing. Everybody has their own ideas about who has the best jollof rice. So, like I said, I'm not going to do that here, but it happens for sure. Um, okay, NJ says, "How were you able to adjust to a slow pace of getting things done?" What, bro? What advice can you share on that? Patience is a virtue, and it's a muscle you have to exercise here. You have to exercise patience, for sure. That's been a big adjustments for me. I mean, I'm not patient when it comes to my own results and things I want to see out of myself because I hold myself to a really high standard. Just because I have really high expectations for what I want to get out of life. Before it's all said and done, I have a lot that I want to do, and so I require a lot of myself. But I don't always hold everybody else to those same standards because we haven't had a conversation between me and that person about what my expectations are most of the time. And if we do, I have to also do it based on what I understand their expectations of themselves to be. So, with that being said, I just had to get used to patience, being patient, and knowing that things aren't going to happen at the speed in which I'd like. And certain things that you'd like to see happen faster don't. Um, but I will say this though, like with MTN, for instance, the customer service rep that got me set up with MTN at home, I have his cell phone number, so I can reach out to him directly. Whereas, like, let's say this was Comcast or something in the US, nobody who works in customer service at Comcast is going to give you their information. So you always got to call. And then if your call gets dropped, then you have to tell the next person again what the last person just heard. And then you got to break it down the story and what the issue is. Whereas here, the person knows my expectations. They know what I've been dealing with, what works, what doesn't work. And that person handles my stuff for me and I communicate with them. Same thing with I have an account manager at the bank. Somebody I can communicate directly with at the bank when I need things done. Like this morning, I had to go make a withdrawal. I messaged him on Sunday just to make sure I didn't forget anything and I knew what I needed to take with me to go. So there's some good and bad, but I like the fact that a lot of these people at these organizations allow you to contact them directly instead of having to talk to a customer helpline. How has the internet experience been? Last time I was back home, it was crazy expensive. The internet is it expensive? Let me do some math for you real quick because I'm always trying to check out the numbers. So, okay, yeah, it can be. Well, actually, let me take this back. Depending on what service you use. So I'm using MTN for my home internet service. I pay about $50 for every month and a half. Sorry, every 2 months or so, a little over 2 months. So when I was in the US, I was paying $50 to $60 per month. So the price is greatly reduced, but I also don't have unlimited internet, right? So when it runs out, I go back and pay for more. So so yeah, that would be what I would say is that it depends on the service provider you're using. Like for instance, Vodafone, I don't think they do a pay as you go. You have to pay a monthly amount, and so if you don't use it, you lose it, and you have to pay again the next month. Whereas with MTN, the home service, they allow you to pay an amount, and until you run out of that data, that's when you re-up or top up and add more data. So it hasn't been too. I wouldn't say it's too expensive. It's about half of what I paid when I was in the U.S. Uh, Elizabeth says she's glad that I like Ghanaian jollof. I do. It's good. It's good. Tabasco says, "What do you think about people moving to Ghana for the hype?" Yeah, I mean that's the reason why I want to do lives like this, right? To make sure that people really understand what life is really like, and that's why I do my weeklies too, because I think a lot of people come here based on what they saw from the year of return, right? And that's an unrealistic expectation. My friends in Sierra Leone say the same thing. Like a lot of people go to Sierra Leone or come to Ghana or even go to Nigeria or anywhere in West Africa, right? Because it's big for us. We all of us from the diaspora or if we have family from there, we go back for like Christmas or whatever. And when you go during that time, you think that that's what it's like all the time, and it's definitely not like that. So those of you who saw that, the experience was like for a bunch of people during the year of return, I think I would temper your expectations. It's not like that year round. It's not always a party. just there's everyday life. It's like, just think about anywhere you've ever gone on vacation, right? You're there for vacation and it feels great, but life is different once that vacation is over. Just like you are different once your vacation is over. Once you're back in your normal everyday life, things are just different. So, but that's what this live is basically about. Because I think for me, I came for the year of return, had an amazing time, and I'm glad I did because it at least prepped me for what I could expect. But it is a different world during the November, December months and the rest of the year, right? It's just not like that during the rest of the year. So you do have to temper your expectations a bit. It's not going to be like the constant turn up, as you would see during those two winter months. Are you going to see the Fugees play in Ghana this December? Yeah, so Tabasco, I would have gone to see the Fugees in Ghana this December, but I will likely be in Sierra Leone in December. So, for all of you who don't know, the Fugees are on tour. It's the 25th anniversary of The Score, which, if I'm not mistaken, was a 12 times platinum album. One of my favorite albums. I've actually, before I even knew they were doing this tour, I've been listening to the The Score album for like the last, I don't know, 4 weeks, 5 weeks or so. Like, it's a really, really, really good album. Really great stuff. So yeah, Fugees are Lauryn Hill, Wyclef, and another guy, Praz, which most people don't know as much. But yeah, really, really, really great music. If I am here in December, if I happen to be here in December, I'm definitely going. But I don't think I will be. I'm most likely going to be in Sierra Leone. SM says, at Tabasco, what do you believe about people moving for the hype? I may have answered that question for you, SM. Uh, yeah. So let me know if I did answer that question. But I think the hype is like just everybody who's doing videos on moving here. Not everybody is as candid as they need to be. I think you have to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'll never trash Ghana because it's the best decision I've ever made. But I do want to make sure that people know what to expect when they get here. And so since iTuber is on, I know that you're here. I know you had asked a question about, do I have a plug for more land for sale in Sierra Leone? I do not have a plug for more land for sale in Sierra Leone, but I can find one. So I know we've been emailing back and forth. Remind me via email. I can ask for you. I know some people who know some people. But there's some land in Bow that can be bought for like $400 for a plot, as far as I understand, or at least that was the numbers 6 months ago. Inflation's crazy in Sierra Leone, so it might be like $600 for a plot of land in some of the outskirts areas of Bow. So for sure, we can talk about that for sure. So now that I've answered your original question, let's see. Obibini asks, hi, does importing goods and selling in Ghana a good source of income, good business? I think it depends on what you're importing and who you're selling to, right? I think you always have to think about the different constituencies that can be your customer base, right? So, if you're talking about diasporans and you're selling products to them, they're looking for some of the same products they're used to getting. So, like for me, for instance, there are certain products that I buy that I always buy. And if I don't want to get in an Uber or a taxi and go all the way to Accra Mall to find them, there's a place down here. So I'm a big fan of the Listerine strips. And so you can't find that anywhere here. But there's a pharmacy like a 10-minute walk away from where I live, where I can walk over to that pharmacy and get those, right? Some people, their hair products. There's a woman here that sells like Cantu hair products. She sells Dark and Lovely, all the different products that are made for people of color that are sold in the US that people purchase. She sells those. And so it seems to be a fledgling business for her. It's doing really well for her. So, I was put on to her by someone else. And so, yeah, I mean, that's an interesting business and that could be a good business. Now, in terms of selling to the locals, I think that's a different story, right? I think you would have to do it within the Ghanaian context. And so it's all dependent on what products you're talking about and who you want your customer base to be. But those are the two important things: is first of all, finding out where there's a need for a customer base, like what they're looking for, and then making sure you supply that customer what they need. when it comes to business, the one thing I'll always say is that you need to be a solution to a problem, but there actually needs to be a problem in the marketplace that you're solving. A lot of businesses these days get launched as a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. So I'd be very careful with that. So just make sure you if you're thinking about launching a goods, importing goods or selling imported goods here, just make sure you have a customer base that's looking for those products that you're looking to sell. Let's see. iTuber says, yeah, Ghana hype is getting a little ridiculous. It's definitely an up and coming spot in West Africa. Yeah, I mean, I think Ghana is one of these countries that does a really good job of external public relations and PR. They do a really good job of showing how welcoming they are and how you can enjoy a life here. They've done a really good job, and then they've also done a really good job of building infrastructure as well. So I would definitely say some of the hype is real. You can live a really luxurious lifestyle here. There's a lot of interesting things. There's great history, really lots of cool cultural stuff that you can do here. So, I would say the hype is real. But in some cases, it can be a little overinflated by just those who are talking about Ghana and not really being real about what their experience is. Okay, Bo and Kenema are on the come up for sure, but I'm worried about freehold land disputes outside of Freetown. Yeah, I mean, look, so this is back to Sierra Leone. Yeah, I mean, the thing about land in Sierra Leone is just that, right? Land disputes. If you're gonna buy land, I recommend you have a caretaker on your land, right? So when I bought my land in January of 2019, I had a house there and we had tenants in the house. So that was just kind of how it was going. But eventually, when we had to tear down the old house and the tenants had to move out, we had to build a temporary housing structure, Panbody, which is what we call it, Panbody, Panbody. And my caretaker on the land is somebody that I trust and that I know very well. And he is on the land, and he and I have an agreement that says that I own the land, and he's a tenant of my land. We have gone to the city and filed the proper paperwork. We hired a lawyer locally to make sure that that was handled properly. We did everything you needed to do, but beyond that, making sure that you go often, because if you're not there and somebody tries to bring a dispute in court, if you don't show up, then you can end up losing that land. This is a horror story I heard before I bought the land in 2019, but it's something that I've been making sure that I don't want to ever run into. So for sure, absolutely, you want to make sure that you're there as often as possible and that you have somebody on the property taking care of your land, basically squatting on your land so somebody else can't take it, because that is a thing in Sierra Leone. It's been happening for sure. Tabasco says, have you heard about Wakanda City and Cape Coast? I have heard about it, like in passing. Don't have the details, don't really understand. From what I understand, well, if this is the same as the land that is being sold to diasporans, then I do know about it. If it's something else, then I don't know. But Ivy Prosper did mention this when she was on the live, that there's some land outside of Cape Coast, about 20 minutes from Cape Coast, that you can buy, and you don't have, the land is free. You just have to pay like the local fees to get the paperwork done and all of that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, just tell me more, Tabasco. Is this like the land that's right outside of Cape Coast that chief is selling? Actually, not selling, giving away. That you can get that land and own it. If it is, let me know. If it's something different, definitely let me know, because I've heard about it, but I didn't really look too deep into it, to be honest. Medasi, I don't know how to say you're welcome. I forget how to say you're welcome, but you're welcome. Medasi in Tree means thank you. So Obibini was saying thank you. Okay, mommy says, hey Joe, do you have any experience with working remotely in Ghana? Example, living in Ghana and working for a US UK company. I do. So in May of this year, I took on a consulting gig with the company that I had previously worked for, based in Hamburg and San Francisco. So Hamburg, Germany, and San Francisco, California, in the US. And I did do some work for them. So I do have some experience, and I do have some people here that I know that worked remotely for other companies. Yeah, I mean, the thing is It depends on where your company is based is going to determine what your experience is. If your company is based in the UK, then it's perfect because your time is the same time zone, right? But I've had people who came here and did the remote work thing because of the pandemic and everybody's working remotely in the US, and they actually moved to Ghana, and now they're working on a basically 5 hours later than their normal time, right? So their day might not start until 11, 12, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. So 2 p.m., but it doesn't end until sometimes like 9 or 10 p.m. or later, or 11 p.m., right? Just, and that's the regular work day. So just keep that in mind. If you're working for a US based company and you're working on US hours, it's going to be really tough because if it's the East Coast, it's between 4 and 5 hours, depending on daylight savings time. And if it's the West Coast of the US, right, it's between, I guess, 7 and 8 hours. 4 and 5, 7 and 8. Yeah. So just keep that in mind. I would that's something I would really keep in mind. You want to be careful with that. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to pay, if you're looking for pay that's close to what you're used to getting paid in the diaspora, then you probably want to work for a company based in the diaspora and work remotely here. Sorry, I had to take a quick water break. All right. Any more questions from me? It's all been great questions, great comments so far. Today, we're probably going to end right at 1 hour. We're about We're about 9 minutes away from the hour mark. So get your questions in now. It has been a long day for me. I was in the office yesterday. If anybody follows me on Instagram and saw my stories, I was in the office yesterday. I did a bunch of shoots yesterday. So, or I did a longer shoot yesterday, a couple interviews, one of me, one of them. And so the last 2 days have been pretty long and hectic. So it's almost 10 o'clock here. So I'll probably do like another 9 minutes and call it a night. Unless there are plenty of questions coming in. If you guys have more questions, then of course I'm here to answer them. But I won't drag this out if people aren't asking any more questions. Okay, good. Jose says, "What's good, brother? How's it going?" It's going great, Jose. Shout out to you. Thanks for coming by. All other social websites are down. Are you able to stream on Instagram right now? No, I'm not. So yeah, so Facebook is down. Facebook as a company. This might come as a surprise to some of you, but you may not know this, but Facebook owns Instagram and Facebook owns WhatsApp. So WhatsApp isn't working. Instagram, you can, like, depending on how you're looking at Instagram, you can see stuff that was posted like yesterday and it's still in your feed. You can watch that. That for some reason is still downloading from the cloud and you're able to watch it. But you're not able to update your feed, at least as of this very, like, maybe 20 minutes ago when I checked. But yeah, Facebook has been down, and it's never been down to this extent before. Not across all platforms. I'm interested to see if there's any press release that Mark Zuckerberg says or does. I'm speculating that this is a attack, like a hacking attack by who knows who it could be. North Korea, it could be China, it could be excuse me, it could be Iran, it could be a number of different places. It could be Russia even. But I'm speculating. I have no idea, no evidence to support that speculation, just my own idea and speculation. If they were hacked, the US government has mandated that they have to tell us that they've been hacked. But Facebook has always been a company that asks for forgiveness and doesn't ask for permission. And they also like to obfuscate and share as little details as possible. So even if they were hacked, they may say they didn't get hacked. But either way, yes. So everything is down. So no, I cannot stream on Instagram. So I'm not streaming on Instagram right now. Usually I stream on Instagram and YouTube. YouTube is not down because it is not owned by Facebook. It's owned by Google. All right, cool. So NJ says, what is the biggest learning points for EIN Ghana these last 10 months? Remind me of EIN again. What does that acronym stand for again? Let me Google. Let me do my Googles. EIN. Sorry, guys. I am. Some of these acronyms get me. What does the EIN acronym stand for? Actually, I'll just wait for you guys to tell me. What does the EIN acronym stand for? Somebody want to tell me? NJ, can you remind me, and then I'll get back to your question. But I'm sorry, I do not know what EIN stands for. I should, but I don't, and I am okay with saying that I don't know. But I would definitely, but I don't know what EIN stands for. So if you let me know, I'll definitely come back and tell you what that means for me. Um, okay, the world would be a better place if it stayed down permanently. Yeah, I mean, I think that, yeah, I mean, yeah, sure, in some ways, right? The world is less polluted. Animals, less animals become extinct. We are a very destructive um, uh, species on the planet. So yeah, I mean, a lot of things were flourishing at the time that we were shut down. Um, Jose Cruz says that whistleblower lady. So for context, there was a woman who was a whistleblower on Facebook. She did a series of interviews and talked about things that went down at Facebook. I haven't even gotten a chance to dig into the allegations that she made. But she definitely is every headline I've read says whistleblower, spills all. So I don't know if it'd be her. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? I mean, I think for her, yeah, it may not make sense to do something to be that high profile than to do something like that. You don't want to be, if you're going to do something like that, you don't want people to know your name and your face. So I wouldn't imagine that it was her. Um, iTuber says, I've heard that Ghana has implemented a new ID that all people Ghanaian foreign need to have so they can conduct business, open a bank account, buy land, etc. Is this true? It is true. So you do get a non-citizen ID. I can show you mine. I think I showed you guys this before. Let me see if I can show you it without showing the number. But yeah, it's a non-citizen ID. Can you see it? Republic of Ghana. You see, it says non-citizen ID card. So yeah, it is a card that you do need to get if you want to open a bank account, and you want to start a business, all of that. So in order for me to open my bank account that I have currently, I did have to get this first. And so yes, that is true. And I still don't know what this is referring to. NJ, sorry, I'm slowly catching up to what you're saying. So the biggest learning points for you in Ghana in the last 10 months. Okay, so I think this is what you're asking. So the biggest learning points for me was patience, number one. And so when I say patience, when I tell other people that they should have patience, is because that was something that I had to do. So patience was the biggest one. Um, changing my habits, right? Like I said, I mentioned some of these things before. So that was something big for me. Also learning how business is done and how to talk to people. I am so used to being like, hey, can I get blah 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 blah. And especially living in New York and then even somewhat in LA, that's a very different thing, right? Here in West Africa, you need to greet people, not just a hey. It's like hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's not just hey, can I get a, or hey, and then people like to use please here. So that's super important. Otherwise, you seem rude, right? And I don't want to be rude. Like, I'm not a rude person. So I just need to make sure that I keep that in mind because I don't want people to get that impression of me when I'm meeting them, especially if I'm doing business, right? So these are just things that I had to learn. Okay. Um, let's see. An EIN can be employment ID number or an like a social security number for a business. But I don't know if that's what you meant. Is that NJ? Is that what you meant? An EIN? Let me know. But shout out to 420 Fellowship. As some of you may or may not know, I'm somewhat of a connoisseur of the 420 friendly lifestyle. So shout out to you. Okay, mommy says, "Hi Joe, are you aware the internet providers in Ghana that offer home modems with unlimited data for the month, like we're used to abroad? Not that I know of, unless you have a more expensive business account, but it's not really necessary. Someone like me who uploads videos on YouTube, I go live, I'm going to be able to use about I think it's 392 gigs over, I think it's a little over 2 months. 2 months plus or so. I'll use that. So I don't think that that you have to worry about having unlimited internet, because there are not too many people who use the internet more than me. I would tell you, I'm streaming on YouTube at all times. I do Disney Plus, I do Hulu, I do Netflix, I do Amazon Prime. I know I say Amazon Prime, even though I have some issues with Amazon. It's a whole thing, but yeah. So I don't know if having unlimited internet is necessary, but not to just be the, MTN needs to sponsor me, but not to be the guy who's always promoting MTN. But they do have a pay as you go plan, and like I said, I just did the 300 Ghana CDs for 390 gigs, and so that should last me. I actually literally did it today because my internet ran out today. That should last me until November, sometime in November. So yeah. Let's see what else do we got. Okay, so the EIN, I think this is the question about the EIN and when you get LLC in America. I'm not sure if that's what she meant, but I think she said I answered her question already as I'm scrolling through. iTuber said that's a good system. Sierra Leone should copy it. Oh, with the card to be able to get land and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, I think so. Sierra Leone is moving along with some of the things, and we're getting better as a country. But I think Sierra Leone right now is really looking more for getting people in and just getting more people to come and build the country. And so I don't know if they want to have so many barriers to entry. With Ghana, they don't have that issue, right? So I think now they have to start vetting people a little bit more and making sure that they know who's coming in and what they're there for. So Jack Jackson. I almost called you Joe Jackson. Okay. Jack Jackson. How's the cleanup effort going in Ghana? I read there was a big push to clean up the country. Do you mean clean like streets, like from like garbage and things like that? Because I will say I don't see a lot of litter in certain places. I do see like in the gutters where water flows between like the street and buildings. So if that's what you mean, it seems like if there was a big effort to do it, it doesn't seem like there was ever an issue here, because it doesn't seem like there was a lot of like dirt and garbage laying around. I mean, from time to time you see like water bottles and like plastic bags, but nothing more than like I've seen, like nowhere near what I've seen in like New York or even in LA. I've seen some pretty trashy areas, and I don't see Ghana doesn't seem like anything like that. So yeah, whatever the effort was, it must have been good, because I didn't even know that this was an issue. So Jose is asking about my local language coming. In Sierra Leone, great, because I'm speaking Creole on almost a daily basis. I have some friends from Sierra Leone, and they mostly speak Creole, so I'm getting better at speaking Creole, which is our one of our local languages in Sierra Leone. Besides English, is the most commonly spoken language in Sierra Leone. But as it pertains to in Ghana, with tree. I got a few phrases. That's as far as I've been able to go. I just don't have the mental capacity and the bandwidth to take on a whole new language when I'm still trying to get my language from my own home country first. So like yeah, it's been a slow roll, but it's coming along. I mean, I think once I get more proficient in Creole, then I'll be able to start getting more proficient in tree here in Ghana. I think this was for the 420 lifestyle. Um, and I guess you're saying, oh, brethren, yes, yes, yes. What's up, brethren? Okay, iTuber says, how much is a typical pay to have someone watch your land for you? Okay, that's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. So this is back to Sierra Leone when I mentioned that you should have someone living on your land for you. In my instance, we have an arrangement. He lives on my land rent free, so I'm actually not paying him because he's living rent free, where he went from paying rent to living rent free. So that's one. And two, I when he got married, I helped pay for his wedding. Um, I helped pay for his kids' school fees. I gave him a ton of clothes. I brought him 2 suitcases full of clothes. On the holidays, I give him cash payments for holidays, like for Ramadan, and even at the end of the year, even though he doesn't celebrate Christmas technically, I still give a little bit of cash then. And then I give him cash when he's driving me around while I'm in Sierra Leone as well. And so yeah, I mean, that's how we do it, but we have an arrangement, and we're like, we're getting close. It's almost like family, because I knew him and he had worked for other family members of mine before I actually employed him. So that's been our experience. But I mean, I would imagine you want to start with someone that you have that's like a family friend, someone that, what we say about Sierra Leone is that, you can't necessarily say you can vouch for someone, but you can say, I haven't had any issues with this person. Right. And so if you can say that, then that's the kind of person I would look for. And then maybe you work it out with them, what they think is fair. In my instance, like I said, I got lucky. It's like, it's someone who was just grateful to have a place to stay for free. And then, I also do other stuff for him as well. It's not as if I'm asking him to do work for free. He's just basically living there. And then every once in a while, like, when I have work being done, I just ask that he's home to check it out, just to make sure like they're not taking advantage and stealing cement and stuff like that. The guys who are building, but yeah. Let's maybe take that offline and see if I can get you some answers for that. So I think you got two questions for me. How much does it cost for someone to stay on your land? And your other question was a somebody who can hook you up with selling land. So hit me up on email and I'll work out what I can do. It takes me a while to respond to those emails, so I'll do what I can, but I want to get you some answers, so I'll do that if I can. Um, NJ says I had answered the question. Okay. Um, Celia says, hi. The hair company that scammed you is still active on Instagram. Please remind your viewers you want to report them. Oh, yes. Okay. So, yeah. So this company, I can't even remember their name now. So they had a page that had 21,000 followers. Thanks to all of the subscribers, this tribe, this authentic African tribe, we got that page shut down. However, they had a backup page because they knew what they were doing. And so their backup page has about 5,000 followers now. So I did a video about it. Maybe I'll do another one to share it with you guys. But yeah, they're live. I can't show it to you right now, of course, because Instagram's down, as far as I know. So, but yeah, so I'll remind you guys on the next live if everybody can go to that page and report them, so that not for me, but for other people, so they don't get scammed. I mean, at this point, I'm not getting my money back, so it is what it is. And shout out to Jack. His actual real name is Joe Jackson. Okay, cool. So shout out to you. And it was cleaning up trash, and good. I'm glad that they did. I don't see too much trash. School fees. I was told that BO made all school free K through 12. So this is back to Sierra Leone. I actually don't know. So I do not have any children as of yet, um, that I know of. That's what everybody always says. But no, seriously, I don't have any children as of yet. And so I don't have much insight into school and cost of school. So I don't know if President Bio did that in Sierra Leone. If he did, that would be great. But I'm not sure that that is the case. Oh, I see what you're saying, because I mentioned school fees for my caretaker. You were saying that if President Bio made school free K through 12, how come my caretaker asked for school fees? Maybe that's a good point. I'm guessing that was books, clothes, etc. I don't think it was actually for school itself. He's a pretty honest guy, so I wouldn't expect that he would lie to me. I think maybe it was just for things related to school, not actually the school fee itself. But that's a good point. I didn't know about that, but that's good to know. You're paid for the side house he will live in too. That's a great deal for him. Yeah. So the boys' quarters, which is what for those of you who don't know, I think Ghanaians also call it boys' quarters. And I think I heard Nigerians, I think, also call it boys' quarters from time to time too. That's the caretaker's quarters, where the caretaker is going to live. Now, until my house is built, I'm going to stay in the boys' quarters or caretaker's quarters, with my own room, my own bathroom, and all of that, so that I don't have to stay in hotels. And so that means it's going to be decked out. It's going to have, you know, air conditioning, pretty good sized rooms, like comfortable spacing, an area for a generator, all of that kind of stuff. So he will also live in that later. And so he and his wife will be helping on the property, he'll be the gate person to open the gate when people come to the house. His wife is going to help cook for my mom when my mom moves into the house, all that kind of stuff. So it'll be like a synergistic relationship. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a great deal for him because he's basically going to be living rent free for the rest of his life and also get paid to live there, right? So, well, I don't want to say for the rest of his life, as long as he's on the property, because I know that he'd like to get to a place where he builds his own business where he wouldn't have to work for me, and that's ideal too. So I'd love to see that for him. All right, Joe or Jack Jackson. Now that I know you're Joe Jackson, would you perhaps cover the updated incentive program for foreign investments that was recently issued by the Ministry of Finance? Yeah. So, I'm realizing now that I got to do more research before I do these lives. You guys ask some really great questions, and I don't have the answer to this incentive program. I don't know much about this. This is what I'll do. Let's put a pin in that. For next week, I will make sure to come back and talk about this incentive program, some updates on it. I actually don't have the details on this right now, and I can't speak intelligently to it, but I will make sure that I come back and talk about it next week. NJ says, "Am I coming back to live in America ever?" And so the answer is probably not. I co-own property in the U.S. I plan to buy property in the U.S., but I don't think as a place of permanent residence, I will be living in the U.S. It's more likely that I will be living on the continent. Even if it's not Ghana, it will be on the continent. I don't see myself moving back to the U.S. full time, but you never know. I mean, I have friends that have been living in Sierra Leone. I have one friend has been living there 20 years. I have another one has been 13, another 11, another 5, and they go to the U.S. for like their summer breaks for like 2 weeks over the summer, the normal summer months like June and July. Maybe that's something I'll take up, but we'll see. I don't necessarily see myself moving there full time, but I think I'll always have a place there. I'm on the lease. I'm on a lease in Brooklyn, and I co-own a house in Washington State. So, I definitely can if I wanted to, but I don't think I will. Sources.tv has been person that's been down with this channel from the beginning. Shout out to you. Good evening to you. Thanks for joining live. I want to say shout out to Sources TV, who has been commenting on almost every single video that I have posted since I started this channel in February. And so maybe it was like March or so that I think I started noticing you on the channel, but I think I have like 82 videos, and I'm going to say 90% of those videos Sources TV has been commenting on. So I really do appreciate you. You're one of the early people that's been here from the beginning. Actually, all of you guys are early, right? Because I've only been on this platform 7 months. So we'll see how we look a year from now, 2 years from now, how big this channel is going to be. And you guys can all say you were there in the beginning. You tried, big bro. I could ask questions all day. Get some rest. I appreciate it. Thank you. Miss Shonda E says, "Hey Joe, love your channel. Where'd you grow up in the U.S.?" Thanks, Shonda. Kind of an interesting answer. So I went to boarding school for underprivileged kids called Milton Hershey School in Hershey, Pennsylvania. It is a school that Hershey's Chocolate, the guy who created Hershey's Chocolate, he and his wife couldn't have children. He started a school for orphan white boys. Before he died, he left his deed open so that eventually children of color and girls could come to that school. So I went to that school in 1989. My oldest sister was one of the earliest Black girls in that school. She went in 82, and then I had another sister that went in 86. I think it was 82, 86, and 89. And then my youngest sister went in, I think, like 92. And so yeah, I went to a boarding school in Hershey, Pennsylvania. So I was there most of the year, and then 5 times out of the year, I would go to the Bronx. My mom lived in the Bronx. So Cardi B, Fat Joe, if you guys don't know anything about New York, those are 2 people. Remy Ma, 3 people that are from the Bronx. So if you get an idea, I mean, they don't represent the Bronx necessarily, but it gives you an idea of what you can expect the Bronx to be like. So that's why my mom sent me away to school, or sent us away to school. And so we would come back to the Bronx 5 times a year. So summer break, the Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter break, or whatever. So I spent most of my time though in Hershey, Pennsylvania, back and forth between there and New York, which is why I don't have a really like thick New York accent, but I do speak fast like New Yorkers do. I did move back to New York when I was 19, and I lived there until I was about 32 or so. Then I moved to LA for a couple of years, 4 years. I'm probably getting my math wrong on the years I did, but whatever. I lived in LA from 19 to my early 30s. And I did say early 30s because I am 37 now. So, and I've been in Ghana for over a year now. And in a year before that, I was in New York. So yeah, Sources TV says school is free in Ghana. Okay, cool. iTuber says USA is super slow decline, and I don't see things getting any better for Black people in America. So might as well make our way back to the continent. Yeah, I mean that was part of the reason why I came. Listen, let me just say this first. I am grateful for everything that I've been awarded in the United States. You know, I got a chance to live as part of the top 1% in terms of financially. I've lived in luxury buildings. I got a pretty okay education, I'll say, but I had access to a lot of things. I made some great friends in the US. I learned a lot about the world because of all of the different people that I met in the US. Um, but I do think that the U.S. has its challenges, and I think that people are now waking up to those things. I mean, it's still probably one of the best countries in the world where you can start a business and grow it to an immense size um, with very little talent and just perseverance. You know, you don't even have to have a ton of skill set. I mean, a lot of people do really well without a lot of talent in the United States. And so there, the opportunity is great, but there are also so many different things that can hold certain people back. And you know, there are some challenges about the country for sure. But in terms of the U.S., the thing that I've discovered is I've been doing a lot of studying of history, and one of the things that I've learned is that every empire falls when a couple of things happen. One, when they don't realize that another one is growing, and they have the arrogance to believe that they're the number one when they're not. So, for instance, China is probably the number one world power, even though the United States thinks they are. And it happens slowly, but then it happens all at once. So that's one, because the United States owes China trillions of dollars, right? And so if the US is supposed to be the biggest world power, they owe someone trillions of dollars, and the US is in trillions of dollars in debt, right? As we all know. There was a surplus when Clinton was president. When Bush took over as president, we went into a couple wars. When I say we, I mean the US. US is in a lot of debt right now, right? And it's just going to keep going into debt in the future. I don't think that's going to turn around and change. The other thing is, one thing that I've learned is that, and a historian mentioned this to me, was that anytime you have a disparity that is so huge between the rich and the poor, that's when you start to see a country or a empire crumble. And there's a couple things that lead to that. One, there becomes a class divide, and it kind of creates like a mini civil war. And the biggest thing that you have to know about the poor is poor people fight your wars. And you know, one way that empires fall is when they stop winning wars, right? And that happens when poor people stop wanting to fight for the country that they're in because they no longer feel like it's worth fighting for. And so the military has a decline in people signing up for the military in the US. There's a lot of people who are poor who have a disdain for the United States for many different reasons. And so, you know, I do think that this slow decline that you mentioned is happening, and no one will know it until it's already happened, right? It'll just have happened, and you'll be like, "Whoa, what happened? The U.S. was number one, and they're no longer." So, you know, I just wanted to diversify my interests, focus on places where the system is built for someone who looks like me, by someone who looks like me, or at least a new version of the system, and that I can walk around freely without having to think about how I am coming across to someone who has a preconceived notion of someone who looks like me. There was a lot of speak without getting into details, but I think the best thing for me is to say, I'm grateful for the US, but I'm way happier being here on the continent than I was in the US. There was so many different things that I had to think about that I don't like having to think about, and I could just walk around and be me and not have to worry about that. Like for instance, in the workplace environment, I always felt like, and I mentioned this before, but I always felt like I had to represent for people of color, for Black people. I just felt like I always, because the comments that I would hear from people about what they thought about Black people from time to time, I felt like I always had to represent, and that is kind of a burden. No one asked me to, but it's kind of a burden to carry, and I just, you know, don't have to do that anymore. So that's great. Um, okay, rant done. All right. So SM says you have planned well with the U.S. investment. That is the dream too, to live in Africa and visit the U.S. from time to time. Yeah, I have some. I mentioned this earlier, but I have really high expectations for what I'm going to do at the end of the day, and by the time it's all said and done, like when my legacy is talked about. And in order to do that, I had to follow in the footsteps of other people who've achieved some of the things that I'm looking to achieve, and one of those things was starting with buying real estate. Um, and so I worked with some friends. We pulled some money together and we purchased the property. I was actually looking to purchase a property of my own, but it didn't work out for various reasons. That's a conversation for another time. But yeah. I mean, and it's never too late. I mean, I started learning about real estate when I was 19, but I didn't actually sign the deed to a property until I was 30 or 31. So it absolutely is a process, and it can be a process, but however long it takes, just work on it and get to it for sure. The good thing about the US is you got mortgages. So, you can start small depending on what your income is. And then you can work your way up to buying bigger and bigger houses or more rental properties if that's something you want to do. But I would definitely recommend, if you can, do some research, get into real estate in the US. Okay. Yeah, USA is nice, but yeah, good amenities, but we cannot be truly free there. So we should bring the amenities and things we like to Africa. Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's where I am with it right now. Is really building on the continent, and living the lifestyle that I'm used to, um, but just here. So yeah, I'm with you. And he says, and the arrogance of the general population is getting worse. It seems people don't believe in science anymore. And that's why I said it'd be nice if Facebook stayed down. Oh, it was Facebook that you were saying should stay down permanently. Yeah, that's a tough one. And I know what you mean. I think the access to information, the problem is there's little information about how to do research on what's fact, what's what's opinion, and then taking fact and determining what the potential outcome of that fact is, and also understanding the reasoning for what happened before that fact became a fact. So, what I mean by that is everybody speculates on the internet and they say they're experts, but nobody knows for sure. And so what that does is that creates a world of like people who know less than that person, but looks up to that person, takes the information that they shared and they reshare it as if it is fact. Right. And then you're in this world where you have these echo chambers. And so, yeah, that's what you see on social media. But I mean, that's part of what I want to do with this is make sure that I'm giving real information and good information for people, so that people can use this information to better themselves or to better us together. And so, but yeah, I would say the arrogance of the population of the United States, but it's always, the United States has always been arrogant. I think it's just now we are more of we're as Americans. I think we see and understand the world a little bit more because world culture and what's happening in the world is getting reported more in the U.S. And so now you can see Americans' arrogance on full display. Because for a long time, America decided they knew what was best. For instance, Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of Ghana, was overthrown by a coup and in part led by the CIA of the United States. Now, that has been proven fact. This is no longer conjecture or a theory. It's actually true. And yeah, and the US has been known for doing that all over Latin America, other places in Africa, all over the Middle East, right? And so when you have that kind of foreign policy, that kind of arrogance in your foreign policy, you're going to have that arrogance in the American population too, right? I mean, it is what it is. It's how the United States has operated for so long. And so, yeah, that level of arrogance is it permeates its way through society, and it's everywhere. And so, me being someone who had parents that were foreign born, I had a little bit of a different perspective, because for me, I didn't look at the United States as everything that everyone said it was, even though I was grateful for the opportunity, and so were my parents. You can look at the United States with nuance, right? It's like, I like Michael Jordan as a basketball player, right? He was an incredible basketball player. Some people say the greatest ever. I might dispute that, but either way, I don't like everything about him. He didn't do everything great. There are many things about Michael Jordan that I don't like. He gambled a lot. He was an a-hole. I don't know if I can curse here because, YouTube monetization. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things, but incredible basketball player. So I look at the United States the same way. It has its flaws. There's some amazing things that the United States has done for me and my family, and I'm grateful for. But also at the same time, it's the American exceptionalism, I think, is a myth. It's not exactly everything that some people make it out to be. But I get it though. Yes, if Facebook goes down, that might help a lot. Now for me though, because I run ads on Facebook, so I kind of need Facebook to be back and up and going. But it looks like Instagram might be back or Facebook might be back, because I just got a notification that somebody posted something on Facebook. So Facebook might be back online now, guys. So in case those of you who are craving the Instagram itch or the Facebook itch, it might be back up and running. I don't want to be spreading rumors, but I just got a notification. I don't know if you guys heard my phone go off like 2 minutes ago, but it said it was like a Facebook thing got posted. So, okay, all right. We are now at 1 hour and 26 minutes. And of course, the most people that have been on all live long are on at this very moment. As I'm getting ready to wrap it up, I can go longer though, since there's a bunch of people on. Does anybody have any more questions for me? A bunch of people just joined over the last like 2 minutes all of a sudden. So, do you guys have any questions for me? Anybody who's new that's joined? You know what? Let's do this while we work on getting more questions. I want everybody to tell me where you are watching this from. These three people just jumped off at the exact same time. Where is everybody watching this from? Tell me where you're watching this from. I want to get an idea of where everybody is around the world, in the US. Where is everybody? So again, I'm in Accra, as you guys know, an area of Accra that I mentioned it before. I'm in Chado, an up and coming area. Oh yeah, Jose, you're in Phoenix. I remember when you mentioned this before, because I was like, oh, it gets hot there in Phoenix, boy. Man, it gets hot. Royalty in Southern California. What part of Southern California? LA, you in Orange County, Long Beach. Where you at? Ms. Blue Love, DFW. DFW. Where's DFW? How do I not know what DFW is? I know DMV. DFW. Is that Detroit? No. Tell me what DFW is. I don't know what DFW is. Miss Sean. Okay, Harlem. Shout out to Harlem. I have a couple friends that live in Harlem right now. So shout out to you in Harlem. I don't know what New York is like right now. You got to tell me what it's been like. Oh, Dallas Fort Worth, of course. DFW. That the airport. Isn't there an airport in Dallas? DFW. I might be just messing that all up, but yeah. Okay. Um, Royalty is in LA. Shout out to Los Angeles. I was there for 4 years. Chidwi is in Phoenix as well. We got a couple people in Phoenix. Okay, shout out to you and everybody trying to help me out to make sure I knew that DFW is Dallas Fort Worth. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Any other questions for me about what it's been like living here in Ghana? My honest opinion about how I feel. Anything that you felt like wasn't answered so far that you want to ask me. This is your time to ask me anything. I'm open to it. And there's a few people that have emailed me, and this is what I'll also say just on the live. If you have any personal questions, or if you want to spend like some time talking, Unfortunately, right now, I just don't have the bandwidth to do individual conversations because there are so many people reaching out for individual conversations. So get on the live and ask me any questions you want on live, because then I can just get all the questions out at the same time. And so I haven't started my consulting business as of yet. That's something that I'm going to do about, moving here and doing one-on-one consulting. So I will do that at some point in time. But until then, if you have any specific questions, um, definitely do it here on the page. Pro Woman J, shout out to Pro Woman J in Chi-Town. Shout out, had to throw in Kanye's hometown. It is, but you don't live there no more, as you know. I think where's he, in Wyoming now? Doesn't he have a house in Wyoming now? Where he's been living in a baseball stadium, I think, now. So, a football. Anyway, yes. Shout out to Chi-Town. Never been, except for to the airport, but I definitely have to go one time. Jack Jackson, shout out to you for the super chat. $25 on the super chat. So by the way, guys, I have finally set up the super chat. I think it was Jack that asked me about this like 4 weeks ago. And I did my little Googles. I found out how to set up a super chat. It's actually really easy. Set up the super chat. So shout out to you if you guys want to donate to the channel, or not donate, but support the channel, I should say, because this isn't a charity. If you guys want to support the channel, you could do a super chat. Definitely do what Joe Jackson did, or Jack Jackson. Totally up to you. Don't feel obligated, but if you do, I'll really appreciate it. It helps out. Thank you very much, Jack. I really appreciate it. Shout out to you, sir. Send me an email. We got to talk. Okay. So Chidwi says, do you have any regrets whatsoever planning a part-time move to Malawi next year? Completely different country. Don't know how it works culturally there in Malawi, but do I have any regrets? Yeah, I mean, I think the only regret is not doing it sooner, and also not spending more time doing more research with people on the ground sooner. I would say had I done that, there's a couple of things that I would have been able to I would have spent less money. So, for instance, knowing where I wanted to live, and what kind of place I wanted to live, how that process looks, all of that. I wish I would have done that first, because had I done that, I probably would have saved myself about $2,000, $2,500 actually. So yeah, for sure. If I was you, I would find is whoever you can who's currently living there that can tell you what it looks like finding a place to live. Start looking into Airbnbs for long-term stays. Also thinking about, long expecting to stay there longer than what your initial time frame is. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Jose Cruz says, "How long do you think it would take for Africans to run the countries they belong to?" Guess is 10 years to 100 years. So you mean, well, technically, Africans do run their countries for the most part, but there are like from time to time they're like proxies of another government, right? So like the French tend to kind of hold their claws into their countries, even after their quote unquote freedom. The British, the Anglophone West African countries, from what I understand, are run their own countries. But I think the biggest problem now is just getting used to democracy over an extended period of time, getting used to the Western way of living, right? I mean, we culturally were very different than what the West forced on us, and so I think it's just taking a while to get there. Maybe another 100 years before I think many countries in Africa will look like how people look at the United States, where you know these countries have to start deporting people from their countries and send people back to where they come from, like the way the United States does, right? So I can see that happening within that time frame. Yeah, for sure. From the BK store, NYC. Well, it's in your name right there, from the BK store. Shout out to NYC. I represent Brooklyn sometimes. I rep Brooklyn sometimes. I lived in Brooklyn for about 14 years. Business wise, Jose, this was a question is business wise. Yeah. That's a good one. That it might take that long, because with colonialism came the structure of business that the Europeans had, and they got a strong hold on the business community. But I do think it's going to take between 10 more years and 100 years before I think majority of the countries on the continent will be owned by Africans. I think it's just gonna take time for the generations to catch up and understand what it is that is happening with other countries' residents being here and owning most of the companies. But I do think that over time that will change. NJ says, "How do you deal with dishonesty and bribery in Ghana, bro? We keep it 100. We keep it at 100." That's a great question. Okay, so um, honestly, I'm so um, Ghanaians are very much very big on their good name and reputation. So if someone bribes me, I just speak in my loud voice and embarrass them. So, like at the airport, for instance, I'll give you an example. At the airport, this guy tried to bribe me to go through. I was like, "Well, are you trying to bribe me? You want to bribe me just so I can walk through?" And so he's like, "Ah, chale, 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 chale." You know. So that's how I handle it there. In Sierra Leone, how do I handle it? So I think it depends on the situation. So in some places in West Africa, it's just the cost of doing business, right? So like I wanted to expedite the process for me getting my passport. They didn't go through any um, illegal processes or do anything that wasn't allowed. They just hand walked my paperwork to all the right people who have to do their checks and stamp it. And so I just paid that person a little extra to do it. And so in some cases you pay extra, right? In other cases, I just say no. So it depends on what it is, right? It depends on the situation and what they're trying to get and how much you need it. But yeah, I mean, that's how it happens. But yeah, bribery is a thing. And that's born out of just how hard it is to live here. I mean, Africans, as we've already talked about, don't really make as money off of our own natural resources. There are other companies and countries that are. And so a lot of people have to resort to things like bribery in order to just make a buck, because the work that they do doesn't pay them enough to sustain a living. So and I think that a lot of that does come from leadership, and I think that there's historically been some challenges with that kind of stuff in our leadership on the continent. Not talking about any specific country, not talking about any specific politician, but since that has been an issue, you see that in the day-to-day lives of people here on the continent. So it's unfortunate, but it is a part of everyday life. So again, but see, I'm not afraid to do that. So if that's not for you, you can just politely decline too. You don't have to do what I just mentioned that I've done. But I just did that at the airport, and I've done it another time too. But yeah, I'm not interested in that. Ghana blogging oversaturated. Should people stop? Ivy Prosper thinks so. Thoughts? Yeah, Ivy has a good point there. I mean, so I would say there's no such thing as oversaturation because there's 2 billion people on YouTube. But I think it should be about what kind of content you're doing, right? What are you offering to the world, right? I think a lot of people jump on something just because they think that it's going to be financially beneficial for them. And so, like for me, I'm talking to the me of 4 years ago, right? And like someone who would never have thought I was going to be moving to the continent. So I make content for me, like me 4 years ago, so that I could see what it was like to move there, right? And I give this platform to people to ask questions, to talk to each other about the experience so far, and the topics and conversations that I like to have. So so even though I knew that it was a crowded space, I jumped into it knowing that I had a nuanced view. And obviously that's true by the number of people on this live and the people who watch the videos and all of that. So I think you can come into this space if you know that you're going to bring something different than other people are bringing, and if you have value that you're presenting to the marketplace. If you're not just here to try to rip off what other people are doing with their videos and try to copy it, right? So I think that that's more of what she's referring to, is that there's a lot of people coming here and vlogging, but not offering any real value. They're just trying to make money. And if you do that, then you're going to be flooding the space with stuff that just people just don't need to see. Um, So yeah, but I did the challenge of the with the word oversaturated is just that. You know, when we're talking about a platform that has 2 billion people, um, you know, someone like Logan is a YouTube celebrity. He's also now a boxer, right? I remember when I first heard about him, he had 3 million subscribers on YouTube. I had never heard of him. The first time I heard about him was just before he went to that forest in Japan. I think it's also called um, I just don't. I'm worried about demonetization. Anyway, it's called the Suicide Forest. So if that's triggering, sorry for anyone. But he had recorded this video there, and that was how I found out about him because he did the stupidest thing you could possibly do. He recorded a dead body there, right? And it was like the dumbest thing you could ever do. But I found out about him, and he had 3 million followers. I never heard of him, and so I also hadn't heard of Wode Maya until I started a YouTube channel, and he's on his way to 1 million subscribers, right? And I didn't hear about him until February of this year when I started a YouTube channel. So I say all that to say that it's hard to say that it's oversaturated when there is so many people who view and look at content who don't know about you. You know, like I mean, my channel has I think about 2,560 or so subscribers on my channel. But just think about how many other people who are into this content that have never heard of me and may not hear of me for a year from now or longer, right? And so I think that's my viewpoint here. I think that there's a lot of people who are doing good work, and I think they continue to do good work. And you should come into the space if you plan to offer something different. But if you're coming here to just to make money, then I would say don't do it. Still interested in the salon fishing business. Looking forward to a follow up meeting at your convenience. I know you're busy. Oh, so he has not responded. Actually, my caretaker knows him really well, and they were meeting up today. They used to work together at the port at Ghana. So sorry, in Sierra Leone. So he's supposed to get back to me on that. So pro women, I will get back to you as soon as I hear back from him. He was supposed to get back to me tonight, actually, but WhatsApp was down. So I don't even know if he's already tried to contact me. But he was actually meeting up with him today, and I asked him to meet up with him and remind him that we want to talk. So I got you on that, though. More to come. And I think iTuber was also interested as well. So I'll make sure that you both are connected with Francis is his name, the CEO of the fish business. Okay, Jose was out. Shout out to Jose for stopping by. Celia says, "What are some of the things, policies you like about the current government in Ghana?" um, certain current things and policies. Okay, one of the policies I did like was some of the exporting laws and rules that they changed. I remember seeing something about changing and also changing some of the amount of aid that they take from other countries and things like that. I honestly don't pay too much attention to the local government and politics as much. To be honest with you, for me, mostly what I'm worried about is like my everyday, day to day life. But the biggest policy change that I do like is that the president has worked to try to institute a faster process for getting citizenship here. That's the biggest one. And so they're in the process of like voting on it and determining what that length of time is going to be and who can get it and all of that. But that's a big policy for me. Outside of that, I haven't really looked at too many other policies. There's other policies in terms of like land ownership that I like that even though it makes it more difficult for me, I still like those policies. Excuse me, sorry. So and what I mean by that too is like you can't actually own the land here in Accra. You lease the land. Maybe it's for 50 years, but you don't actually own it. So even if you buy land here, you're leasing it for 50 years. I understand that it's mostly in Accra. I don't know how it works outside of Accra, but I love that. That's not the new policies, the new government, but that's from an pre-existing government. But I love that. So, but yeah, the big thing for me with this current government is trying to speed up the process to becoming a citizen. NJ says, I like your handle, Authentic African. That's original and unique. Big ups to you. Thank you. Yeah, this was a 2 a.m. idea back in January of 2019. And that's when, so yeah, it came from, and I mentioned this before, so I'll tell you guys this in case some of you who don't know, especially some of you who are new to the channel. I was having a party at my house. I used to love to get people together at my apartment, my old apartment. I had this pretty big apartment. It was like 3,600 square feet. It was a huge apartment, and so I love to get like people over and have people over for stuff. And I used to do shoots in there for like I used to rent out my space to do like shoots for like music videos and photo shoots and things like that. And so I had this party and I had a bunch of stuff that I had brought with me from Sierra Leone hung around the place. So I had my carvings and my masks all around the apartment. And so somebody had come to the party. And she was a black American, and she was just like, I love this stuff. How much would you sell it for? And I was like, I don't know. I mean, how much would you buy it for? And she told me she would buy it for like, I think it was like $80. And I bought it for what was the equivalent of like $20. And so to me, I was just like, well, that's a business right there. And so in the middle of the night, that night, I came up with the idea Authentic African. First, the business was called Africa Exports, but that was taken. Africa Imports was taken. And so I thought, what can I sell? What can I offer to people that they're asking for that is African and it's authentically African? And then it was just like Authentic African. I was like, that flows because you could say Authentic African shea butter, Authentic African instruments, Authentic African clothes. And so I looked up the URL. It wasn't taken. Social media wasn't taken for some reason. I mean, there were some iterations of it, like Authentic African was taken on Facebook, so that's why my Facebook name is the Authentic African. And in Instagram, Authentic African was taken, so that's why it's authentic_African. But AuthenticAfrican.com wasn't taken, so I got it. So it just worked out. And so people think that I call myself Authentic African because the YouTube channel features me, but it was really about the e-commerce business and the Instagram page. And that was what it was focused on. This YouTube channel is just brand new. I just started in February of this year, but Authentic African, the e-commerce store, and Authentic African, the Instagram page, have been live since February 1st, 2019. So, but yeah, thank you for that. It was one of those 3 a.m. 420 sessions. Got my creativity flowing and just went with it. Africa Lenisi. Shout out to you. You've been on before. Thanks for joining. You just joined. Jack Jackson is out of here. Good night. Celia says videos on Ghana is oversaturated on YouTube. I can't even keep up. I keep seeing new people that have relocated and vlogging. Yeah, there's a lot of Nigerians that move here. There's a lot of people who move here from other countries. On the continent, there's people who are moving from the diaspora. I'm actually working on scheduling an interview with Jasmine, who's a Australian YouTuber, and then I've done some content with a couple of other British YouTubers from the UK. Yeah, I mean, but again, I think it's really up to you to determine who of them you want to watch, right? I mean, not everybody might be for you, or if you like everyone, then subscribe to all their channels. Make sure you turn on your notifications, and you'll see all of their content. But yeah, I mean, you'll be able to discern who has content that works for you and doesn't, and yeah, to me, I would never deter anybody from starting something if they want to offer value, but it really depends on what value they offer, right? If they're offering real value, then good. If not, then people won't subscribe, right? Okay, what's the difference in terms of business culture and work ethics in comparison to Ghana? Are there major differences such as punctuality, customer service, etc.? Yeah. So, and I mentioned this a bit, but yeah, punctuality. I mean, Ghanaians and Sierra Leoneans, it's kind of a thing that we're known for in West Africa, at least in Ghana and Sierra Leone. This idea of in Sierra Leone, sometimes you hear it called Salon Man time. Ghana, I've heard it called Ghana Man time. Yeah, so some people can be a little bit late, not always and not all the time, and not everyone. But yeah, from time to time, you do see that. I think there's just a more relaxed nature. So in terms of a timeline of getting things done, like I have some people that are Nigerian in the office, and I noticed that like they tend to like turn things around really quickly, at least from my experience with those folks. And then some of the folks that I've met here in Ghana, they do also, some do, but then there are others that are a little bit more relaxed with their speed. So that's probably one of the major differences I've seen, even just between those two countries, or the people that I've worked with from those two countries, and then some of what I've seen in the US. But I've also say New York and LA has that difference too. New Yorkers are on it. LA people, from what I've experienced, can move a little bit slower too. So I think it's like the warmer tropical environment gets people moving a little bit slower. And I know you meant in comparison to you United States. You said that on the next one, so I hope I covered that. All right, guys, we are now at 1 hour and 49 minutes. This is the longest solo live that I have ever done. I've done, I think the one with Ivy Prosper was longer, but this is the longest live I've done solo. So I need to call it a night. It's 10:49. I have a long day at the office tomorrow. If you guys have any more questions for me, comments on the comments in the rebroadcast. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this. This is gonna be live on the channel, so you can comment on the rebroadcast. Put your comments there. More than happy to answer any of your questions, or if you have anything else you want to comment on. Um, with that, guys, thanks for joining. I really do appreciate it. Thanks all of you for staying on. As many of you who stayed on as long as you did. Once again, I think this was another great conversation, a lot of good insights and good comments and questions. So good night to you all. Yeah, thanks again. And I'll see you guys all on the next. Oh, you know what? Before I get into that, before I go, this week I have the chimpanzee sanctuary video that's coming out. I have the Sierra Leone icons exhibit that's coming out either this week or next week. And I'm going to do another weekly update about shipping stuff. So I did ship some stuff to Sierra Leone. So I'm going to share what that process was like. And I have an update on the house too, which I used to do the updates here, but I save it for that. So you got something to anticipate. So the middle of the week this week, middle to the end of the week, either Wednesday or Friday. I know I said it's supposed to be Fridays, but it might be Wednesday, depending on when I can get it done. I'll do an update on those couple of things. Okay, so with that, thanks guys for joining. I will see you guys all on the next video.